We're here with another episode of Conversations and Connections. We're the official podcast of the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. And today we have with us Mallory Dotson, who's part of our agency. And we're going to be talking about Human Trafficking Awareness Month, which is in January. Mallory, first of all, I do this every time. Remind us what are your duties? What is your position here at the Family Crisis Center?
The extremely long title.
There you go.
My official title is a Sexual Assault Services Coordinator, and then I'm also SFA's Advocate. If I'm on campus, I just say SFA's Advocate, and then if I'm in the community, I usually just say NAC, Sexual Advocate,
right,
Assault Advocate.
Yeah, makes it a little easier, I guess.
I never really say the full job title.
Well, we try to do this every year. Again, the year kicks off with January, again, being Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And sometimes I kind of want to start out, a lot of times, and I've seen this happen when we go out and about. Sometimes people may confuse trafficking with smuggling. When we talk about human trafficking. And so, just for clarification's sake, what is the difference? When we're talking about human trafficking, what is that as opposed to smuggling?
So human smuggling is like a crime against the border where somebody enters a nation illegally, and they usually pay somebody to smuggle them. That's usually called a coyote, but they're paying someone to smuggle them. Whereas human trafficking has to have force, fraud, and coercion. Human smuggling can be a choice. Human trafficking is never a choice. So trafficking can start out as smuggling, and then they give false pretenses, and then when they get across the border, now they're like, you owe this very large debt, you have to pay it off, when in reality, they will never pay it off.
Okay. So smuggling is basically transporting people across the border, across international lines, I guess you can say. Whereas trafficking it can happen just within the borders and everything. So trafficking, I want to take more of a deep dive into that. When we talk about human trafficking, what exactly are we talking about? What do we mean when we say human trafficking?
So the two really main types are sex trafficking and labor trafficking. Labor trafficking can be working on farms, they're not getting paid, and sex trafficking is what it sounds like. Somebody is paying another person for sex.
Okay.
And that can be confused with prostitution, but prostitution, they kind of go hand in hand a little bit, but trafficking is not a choice. So say somebody pays like a pimp for sex with a girl, but that girl is not getting paid. They're being forced to do that. They cannot leave. They have no choice. The biggest thing about human trafficking is that it has to have force, fraud, and coercion.
Well, I think a lot of times people will say, well, prostitution, that's that woman's choice. She's making that choice to sell herself. When in reality is probably a lot of the times that woman's being made to do this, right? She's being forced to do that. It's not really, maybe she's paying off a debt or something like that. And I think that's the thing that we really need to let people know is that I think sometimes people say, well, it's a victimless crime. If that's what they want to do and that's how they want to earn their money and, well, so be it. But man, you just got to really look at that and understand that a lot of times these ladies and men as well, we got to make sure and let it know that this can happen to men also, that they may not have a choice. They may be forced, and if they refuse to do this, they could pay some consequences.
Yeah, and sometimes it might start off as maybe it's a single mom who can't get a job, can't pay ends meet, and the only thing she has left is to sell her body. And so they might get into prostitution to survive, and then once they get under a manager or a pimp, then it suddenly turns into you want to leave, but now you can't because you owe this pimp because now you're under their control.
Right.
and now you don't have a choice and you can't
Okay.
leave.
Sure. So how big of this is an issue? And again, I guess I'm trying to set up these situations when people think, oh, well, this doesn't happen in rural, these are things that happen in Houston and Dallas and the big metropolitan areas. But how big is this issue in East Texas? I mean, do we see it here?
Yeah, and it's a big issue, but I don't think the trafficking that people think of is the trafficking that actually goes on here. So when people think of human trafficking, they think of the movie Taken and like going across borders, and that it only happens in big cities. And that does happen, but it's not the main type of human trafficking.
Yeah.
As far as sex trafficking goes, it's primarily familial trafficking and spousal trafficking, and that's the main things that we see here is like parents selling their kids for sex, or spouses selling their spouses for sex. And then sometimes people don't even know that they're being trafficked. Sometimes they might think it's like a sexual assault. But it can be trafficking because somebody else is being paid to have sex with them.
So, it's interesting that you pointed out here in East Texas, we see it happening within families. A parent selling their child for sex, or a spouse selling their partner for sex, or something like that. What are some of the tactics that traffickers use to lure victims? Let's say it's not, or you may have a good example of a tactic that a family member can use. But, I think, again, a lot of people are saying, well, who would be silly enough to get caught in this world, And so I guess that kind of leads up to my question. What are some of the ways that traffickers use to get people to get in this line of work or to be trafficked?
And there are several different ways. I know, like, there's what's common is like the boyfriend trafficker, where they start off, they're very nice, they're kind, they build their trust, then they start buying them all these nice gifts. So now you feel like you owe them. And then one day they're like, hey, can you do me a favor? I need you to entertain my friends, or I need you to do this. And now you feel like you owe them because they've bought you all these things and they're so nice. So you're like, yeah. And you don't want to do those things, but now it becomes something over and over and over again. And that's
kind
when,
of a feeling of obligation, maybe.
Yeah, obligation. And that's when that exploitation, manipulation start to come out. But that's kind of like the boyfriend trafficker. When it comes to like teens and young adults, they're usually groomed. Online happens a lot. So probably someone in the high risk category, someone who maybe they come from a single parent household and that parent is working a lot. It's not the parent's fault. They're trying to make ends meet. But there's not a lot of people watching that kid, or they're walking home from school and they get caught up there. And finally, this really nice person is online. They're being so nice to them. Somebody's paying attention. So they're like, oh, yeah, they're great. They would never do anything. Like, they only care about me. And then as soon as they build that trust with that person, then that's when that exploitation starts happening.
Do you think potential traffickers, do they try to find victims who seem like they're despondent, that they're unsatisfied with their home life, that they're mad at their parents, nobody loves me, nobody understands me. And here comes somebody, hey, I get it, I understand. Hey, you hang out with me, I'll give you all the love and all the attention you want. And oh yeah, they don't care about you, and all of that, I guess.
Yeah, so it can happen even in like big families that maybe have 6 or 7 kids, and the parents are doing the best that they can, but they have a lot of kids, and maybe that kid feels like they're not that loved, so that trafficker is going to target that kid and make them feel loved and make them do whatever they want now. Or say the parents are having a really messy divorce and like custody battle, and the kid just feels like totally isolated. Parents are just fighting. They don't have anybody. But they try to target those high risk young adults or kids.
I think something also that parents need to be made aware of, and I'm not knocking this because I play video games, I'm a gamer, But a lot of this stuff can happen through the games that kids play. Because a lot of kids are connected online with other players, whether it be Call of Duty, which I got to give Mallory a hard time. We were in a meeting the other day, and we were talking video games and and she was like, "All I know is Roblox. You don't know any other games." And so I had to educate Mallory a little bit. But seriously, it could be Roblox, Call of Duty, whatever. Especially when players are communicating with each other and striking up online friendships. And so, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not knocking that media, but I think people, especially parents, need to be made aware. Pay attention to what your kids are doing online, right?
And I know with kids is like middle school and high, like Roblox, Minecraft, because you can do pretty much anything in those rooms. And then one of the other thing is those VR reality games.
Yeah.
Because anybody can go into those lobbies and you can be anybody.
Right.
And they can target people that way as well.
Oh, also what I've heard is trying to lure young, probably especially girls, but again, boys also. Hey, have you ever thought about being a model? Hey, call this number. Let's take some pictures and we'll submit your pictures. And I'm not saying that every one of those types of ads have ulterior motives, but again, guys, be careful what your kids are doing and what they're responding to.
Yeah, because if like especially like primarily, like it still happens to males, but I know with the model thing, it's a lot of teenage girls.
Yeah.
And they're out with their friends. They find a big group of those teenage girls, and they're like, "Oh, you guys could be models. You should call this number. You should call me. I know a guy." And then they go to this meeting, and it's something completely not what they were expecting.
Sure. So obviously, this is an issue in East Texas, or agencies like the Family Crisis Center wouldn't have somebody in programs devoted to combating this. So what does an agency like ours, like the Family Crisis Center, what do we do to combat this problem? Like, what are the things that we do out there to bring awareness and to, like for a better word, the only thing I can think of right now is combat the problem out there.
As far as like educational purposes and like maybe prevention measures, it's just education, getting the word out, because I know when like human trafficking, people aren't thinking about the trafficking that is actually going on. They're thinking about the kids being smuggled across borders.
Right.
They're thinking of that kind of trafficking and that it doesn't go on here. And it very much does. So I think education about the real types of human trafficking going on, including labor trafficking, because we see that as well. Spreading awareness, like the event that we'll talk about later, doing things like that, just showing them like the real types of trafficking, the reality of that in small areas like this, because it is definitely happening everywhere in Houston and Dallas, but it's still happening here as well. And as far as like once somebody is trafficked, what we can do for them, obviously like services like any legal help, legal assistance that they might, all of their options that they have, shelter, what we do in general, and then we can partner with other agencies. So a big one is Unbound Now that we just got in the area. We partner with them. They're solely human trafficking and anything, because like the Family Crisis Center, we're going to do anything to help our victims that we can.
Yeah.
And then if there's another agency that can do more for them like than we can, then we're going to work with them as well, and we're going to partner with them and try to do the best for our clients as possible.
Yeah. I know we kind of touched on this. I didn't know if we needed to come back and revisit. What do traffickers look for? If, hey, okay, I want to traffic somebody, what type of person are they going to set their sights on?
The biggest thing is it can happen to anybody. Anybody can be trafficked. As far as what they're looking for, it depends what the trafficker's motives are. So if they're looking for labor trafficking, say they're looking for somebody to work in a field or in a restaurant, they're going to be looking for like maybe an undocumented immigrant trying to make money. And they're like, oh, if you pay me this much, like basically giving them a very large debt and saying you can pay me back by working. And reality is, again, like they will never pay off that debt. If you're looking for like sex trafficking, it's usually going to be upper teens, young adults. It really just depends what that trafficker's wanting to do. Because it can be anybody.
Right. Okay. I guess I'm wanting to know, are there certain signs people can look for if they suspect someone may be trafficking, or they may be a trafficking victim, I should say, and if trafficking is going on in their area, are there any, is it so well hidden you wouldn't know, or are there any telltale signs that you can kind of pick up on if things that may kind of look suspicious, or either in an area or a person themselves, if you think, maybe this person is doing something they don't want to be doing.
And there are different signs for the different types of trafficking. Sex trafficking is they're being controlled by somebody. They talk about they have to meet a goal every single day. When you talk to them, they don't know where they are a lot of the times. Like, maybe they don't know, like, their whereabouts. They can't speak for themselves. So say they get injured and they go to the hospital. There's going to be somebody speaking for them the entire time. Like, they're not going to speak for themselves. And they're always being monitored. They're very fearful of law enforcement. And they might even have a tattoo that can, like, look like a brand. That's sex trafficking. And then, like,
Go ahead.
Labor trafficking is they're not free to leave. They're either unpaid or paid like very little. Right. And they owe a large debt they'll never pay off. They don't have any breaks at their work environment. And they're going to have a lot of poor hygiene. In the teen world, like as far as like if you're a teacher or in charge of teens or work with teenagers, if they suddenly start bragging about they have a lot of money, so overalized sexual behavior, suddenly like they have new friends or like older friends, an older boyfriend just out of nowhere. They've dropped their old friends. They have new ones, some unexplained absences, that kind of thing.
Okay. I wanted to go back. Why you kind of paused, because like I was about to say something, but I thought crept into my head when you were talking about tattoos that look like brands. Are there certain types of tattoos that are associated with trafficking?
There are, but the list is growing like day by day. Some traffickers will get their names tattooed on their victims. Sometimes they'll have like every like person that's being trafficked under this pimp, they'll have maybe like a crown or a symbol or something. Like they will have distinct
kind of like their brand or their logo, I guess maybe is what I'm trying to say, or something like that.
They will have a brand that's distinct to that pimp.
Okay. Well, finally, I do want to talk about what the Family Crisis Center is going to be doing at SFA at the end of the month. We have something in the works going on campus at Stephen F. Austin State. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a human trafficking simulation, and I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be really useful knowledge, because the different scenarios that we're going to be being brought is we're actually making them, and we're doing like the types of trafficking that we actually see around here, the different ways and how they speak and the language, and like they're actually going to get to walk through and see like what that person is going through and the different choices that person has to make. And I think it's going to be a really good experience. It's going to probably be really heavy because you're going to be in that situation as that person who's being trafficked. But I think it's going to spread like a lot of awareness, like, oh, this is what's actually going on.
So I guess if anybody's ever taken part in like a poverty simulation or the In Her Shoes thing, what we do in October when we simulate domestic violence or relationship violence situations. This is something similar on that, but it's going to be focused on the human trafficking or human trafficking scenarios. It's going to be at the in the Starlight. Is it the Starlight Ballroom?
I think it's Twilight. In the
Sorry.
Student Center.
I should have just said, Mallory, tell me where it's going to be before I confuse people. Okay, but it'll be at the Student Center at in the Twilight Ballroom. What day is that going to be on?
It's going to be on January 31st. It's
end of the month.
Yep, that last day.
Okay.
Ending it with a bang. And it's going to be from 5:30 to 7. Is what they're planning on doing. And anybody's welcome. It's on SFA, so obviously students are welcome, and we want all the students to come, but it is open to the community, and anybody's welcome.
Does anybody need to register? You just show up to participate?
It's really you just show up to participate.
Okay.
And people can tell us that they're coming, but really it's just a show up. You don't have to register for it or anything like that.
Okay. All right. Again, Mallory Dotson, thank you for doing this. You've been a sport. This is your third appearance on the podcast. All right, here's to many more. Thanks a lot, Mallory. So again, if you have any questions regarding Human Trafficking Awareness Month, the upcoming simulation, just go ahead and call our toll-free number. That's 1-800-828-7233. We also consider that number our hotline because it is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, that's 1-800-828-7233. Be sure to subscribe to Conversations and Connections. Do that via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or the podcast service of your choice. Also, a lot. The work we do at the Family Crisis Center is a lot of that is done through donations. And so if you would like to make a donation to the Family Crisis Center to help our cause, you can go to our website, FamilyCrisisCenterofEastTexas.com, and there at the bottom left of the page, you'll see a donate button. Just click on that if you'd like to make a monetary donation to help survivors of relationship violence. And so, as always, be the voice, if not for you, for someone else.